Every time you eat, you are participating in an industry worth over $300 billion per year. You probably never thought about it. But every food on your plate, every grain of rice, every piece of meat, every vegetable depends on something you never see: industrial fertilizers. This market moves more money than the entire automotive industry of whole countries. We are talking about an economy so gigantic that it literally feeds 8 billion people every single day. Without fertilizers, half of the world population would have no food. And the most impressive part, this market is growing 7% per year. In 10 years, it will surpass $500 billion annually. You eat 3 times a day. Each meal connects you to this invisible economic system that generates trillions in wealth. I will show you how much money is really involved and why this matters for your life, your wallet, and your future. Why do fertilizers exist? The answer is simple: economic necessity and human survival. World population grew from 1 billion in 1800 to 8 billion today. There is not enough land to feed everyone with traditional methods. Fertilizers increase agricultural productivity by up to 400%. 1 hectare that produced 1 ton of wheat now produces 4 tons. That multiplies wealth. More than 150 countries depend on fertilizers for food security. 30 countries produce more than 80% of global supply. China, India, United States, Russia, Brazil lead. But all depend on each other. When Russia cut exports in 2022, prices rose 200% in 6 months. Entire economies entered crisis. Why? Because fertilizers are not just chemical products, they are the foundation of modern food chain. They generate jobs for more than 50 million people directly. Indirectly, they sustain billions who work in agriculture. Understanding this market is understanding how wealth and global security are created and maintained. This is the hidden economic power that dominates your plate and your wallet every single day. Let us get to real numbers. The global fertilizer market is worth $320 billion per year in 2024. In 10 years, projection is $540 billion annually. Average growth rate, 7.2% per year. That is double the average global economic growth. Why? Because population increases, but land does not. We need to produce more with less space. Fertilizers are the economic solution. More than 200 million tons are produced annually. 3 types dominate: nitrogen, phosphate, and potassium. Nitrogen alone is worth $150 billion per year. Phosphate is worth $80 billion. Potassium is worth $60 billion. These numbers seem big, but let us put in perspective. $320 billion is larger than the GDP of Portugal, larger than the GDP of New Zealand, equivalent to the GDP of Denmark, and it is concentrated in few companies and countries. China consumes 40% of all fertilizers in the world. India consumes 20%. United States, Brazil, Russia together consume another 25%. Only 5 countries consume 85% of global market. This creates concentrated economic power. Who controls fertilizers controls food. Who controls food controls nations. Institutions like United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization confirm, without fertilizers, global food production would drop 50% in 5 years. Half of humanity would enter food crisis. This is not exaggeration. This is economic reality based on data. Who are the giants that dominate this trillion-dollar market? Let us look at the top 5. Number 1. Nutrien, from Canada. Annual revenue, $27 billion. Net profit, $3 billion. Controls 20% of global potassium market. Largest producer in the world. Number 2. Yara International, from Norway. Revenue, $16 billion. Profit, $1.8 billion. Leader in nitrogen fertilizers in Europe and Africa. Number 3. Mosaic Company, from United States. Revenue, $14 billion. Profit, $2 billion. Dominates phosphate and potassium in the Americas. Number 4, CF Industries from United States. Revenue, $7 billion. Profit, $1.2 billion. Specialized in ammonia and nitrogen. Number 5, ICL Group from Israel. Revenue, $7 billion. Profit, $800 million. Controls phosphate and potassium in Middle East. These 5 companies together generate more than $70 billion per year. They control 40% of global market, combined net profit more than $10 billion annually. But they are not only private companies. China has giant state-owned enterprises like Fertilizer, which move $30 billion annually, but do not disclose profits publicly. Russia has Fosagro and Uralkali, which together are worth $15 billion in annual revenue. India has national companies that receive subsidies of $10 billion per year from government to keep prices low. This is a market where states and corporations mix. Economic and political power merge. Who dominates fertilizers dominates agriculture. Who dominates agriculture dominates food security. And who dominates food security dominates stability of entire nations. How does money flow in this market? Let us follow the value chain. It starts in extraction of natural resources. Phosphate and potassium come from mines. Nitrogen comes from air, but needs natural gas for synthesis. Here are the first billions. Mining companies invest $50 billion per year in extraction. Second step, industrial production. Transforming raw material into fertilizer costs energy. Lots of energy. Fertilizer industry consumes 3% of all natural gas in the world. That represents $80 billion in annual energy costs. Third step, distribution. Fertilizers are transported by ships, trains, trucks. Global logistics moves $20 billion per year. Fourth step, sale to farmers. Farmers spend $200 billion per year buying fertilizers. This money comes from bank loans, government subsidies, agricultural profits. Fifth step, agricultural production. Each dollar invested in fertilizer generates $4 in harvest value. Economic multiplier of 1 to 4. 200 billion spent on fertilizers generate 800 billion in food value. Sixth step, food sales. 800 billion in harvests transform into $8 trillion in final consumer sales. Yes, you read correctly, $8 trillion. The global food industry is worth $8 trillion per year. And it all starts with 320 billion in fertilizers. That is the hidden multiplier. Each dollar in fertilizer transforms into $25 on your plate. That is the economic magic you do not see, but pay every single day. And that is why this market has power to move entire economies. It is the invisible foundation of the largest industry in the world, food. How much money does this market put in people's pockets? Let us look at jobs. Directly, fertilizer industry employs 50 million people in the world. This includes workers in mines, factories, logistics, sales, research. Average salary varies by country. In United States, fertilizer factory worker earns $60,000 per year. In China, earns $20,000 per year. In India, $12,000 per year. Global average, $30,000 per year. 50 million workers times $30,000 per year. $1.5 trillion in direct annual salaries. This money circulates in local economies, buys homes, cars, education, health, multiplies wealth. But indirect impact is even larger. For each direct job in fertilizers, there are 10 indirect jobs in agriculture. 500 million people work in agriculture dependent on fertilizers. Global average salary of farmer, $15,000 per year. 500 million times 15,000. $7.5 trillion in annual agricultural salaries. Adding direct and indirect, $9 trillion in annual salaries depend on this chain. And that does not count jobs in food industries that depend on agriculture, processing, packaging, distribution, retail. Another 1 billion people employed. Another $10 trillion in annual salaries. In total, $20 trillion in global salaries depend indirectly on fertilizers. That is 25% of entire global economy. 1/4 of planet wealth starts with fertilizers. Local economies depend on this. When fertilizer price rises, farmers earn less. When they earn less, they spend less. Local commerce suffers. Jobs disappear. That is why governments subsidize fertilizers. It is not just helping agriculture. It is protecting entire economies. How did this market get here? Growth history is fascinating. In 1900, fertilizer market practically did not exist. Farmers used animal manure. Productivity was low. World population, 1,600,000,000 people. In 1910, Fritz Haber invents ammonia synthesis process, economic revolution. Artificial nitrogen becomes possible. In 1950, global fertilizer market is worth $5 billion annually. In 1980, it is worth $50 billion. Growth of 10 times in 30 years. Why? Green revolution in Asia, India, China, Pakistan, double agricultural production using fertilizers. They avoid famines that would kill millions. Economies grow. In 2000, market is worth $120 billion. In 2020, it is worth $280 billion. In 2024, it is worth $320 billion. Average growth rate in last 50 years, 6% per year. Exponential growth. And where is it going? Projections indicate $540 billion in 2034. $700 billion in 2040. Why? World population will reach 10 billion in 2050. Arable land will not increase. Only solution: more efficient fertilizers and more use. Emerging trends include controlled release fertilizers, which increase efficiency by 30%, organic fertilizers, which grow 15% per year, premium market for sustainable agriculture. China is investing $20 billion in new fertilizer factories until 2030. India is investing $15 billion. United States, $10 billion. Russia and Brazil, $5 billion each. Global investment in productive capacity, $50 billion in next 5 years. This shows confidence. Companies know demand will grow, and they know that who controls production will control markets. Growth will not stop. It is structural. It is inevitable. What is changing this market? Technology. Innovation is transforming fertilizers from basic product into high-technology industry. First innovation, controlled release fertilizers. Traditional dissolves fast, wastes 50%. New dissolves slowly, increases efficiency to 80%. Smart fertilizer market grows 20% per year, worth $30 billion today. Projection: $100 billion in 10 years. Second innovation, biological fertilizers. Use bacteria that fix nitrogen naturally, reduce cost by 30%. Market worth $10 billion today, growing 25% per year. Companies like Novozymes invest $1 billion in annual research. Third innovation, precision agriculture. Drones and sensors measure exact fertilizer need in each square meter, reduces waste by 40%, saves farmers $80 billion per year. Agricultural technology market worth $50 billion and grows 30% per year. Fourth innovation, production with renewable energy. Manufacturing nitrogen fertilizer uses 3% of global natural gas. New factories use green hydrogen from solar and wind energy. Reduces long-term cost. Companies invest $15 billion in green factories until 2030. Fifth innovation, artificial intelligence to optimize formulations. Algorithms analyze soil, climate, plant, and recommend exact mixture. Increases productivity by 20%. Startups like Indigo Agriculture worth $2 billion. Global investment in agricultural technology, $20 billion per year. Why? Because who dominates next generation of fertilizers will dominate agriculture for 50 years. We are seeing technological race. China invests $10 billion annually in research. United States, 8 billion. Europe, 6 billion. This technology will transform 300 billion market into 1 trillion market in 20 years. Opportunities are enormous, and who understands this early will profit. But not everything is growth. This market has enormous risks. First risk, energy dependence. Nitrogen fertilizers need natural gas. When gas price rises, fertilizer price multiplies. In 2022, gas rose 400% in Europe. Fertilizer rose 300%. Farmers went bankrupt. Agricultural production dropped 20% in some countries. Economies entered recession. Second risk, geographic concentration. Russia and Belarus produce 40% of world potassium. When war in Ukraine started, exports stopped. Potassium price rose 200%. Brazil, largest importer, entered crisis. Third risk, environmental impact. Fertilizers cause river pollution, nitrous oxide emission that heats planet 300 times more than carbon dioxide. Regulations are becoming more rigid. European Union wants to reduce fertilizer use by 20% until 2030. This can reduce European market by $30 billion. Fourth risk, saturation. China already uses more fertilizer per hectare than ideal. Additional use does not increase productivity. Chinese market may stagnate, and China is 40% of global market. Fifth risk, technological disruption. If biological fertilizers become mainstream, chemical market can lose 50% of value. Traditional companies would lose $150 billion annually. Sixth risk, economic crises. Global recession reduces premium food consumption. Farmers cut expenses. Fertilizers are first item cut. In 2008, financial crisis reduced fertilizer market by 20% in 2 years. Seventh risk, climate changes. Droughts reduce agriculture, floods destroy harvests, demand for fertilizers drops. These risks are real. 300 billion market can become 200 billion market if several risks materialize together. That is why diversification is important. Companies are investing in green fertilizers, biological precision technology. They do not put all eggs in one basket. Smart investors do the same. Where are the opportunities for those who want to profit from this market? Let us look at options. First option, stocks of large companies. Nutrien, stock price today around $50. Analysts project $70 in 3 years. Return of 40%. Dividends of 3% per year. Yara International, stock price at €30. Projection, €45 in 5 years. Return of 50%. Mosaic, stock price at $35. Projection, $50 in 3 years. Return of 43%. These are solid companies, profitable, pay dividends. Medium risk. Second option, agricultural technology companies. Indigo Agriculture, private, valued at $2 billion. Next IPO may value at $5 billion. Return of 150% for initial investors, but risk is high. Many startups fail. Third option, agriculture ETFs. Invictus, Global Agricultural Fund, includes fertilizers, seeds, equipment. Average growth of 12% per year in last 10 years. Diversification reduces risk. Fourth option, direct commodities, phosphate and potassium futures. High volatility. Return can be 200% in 1 year or 50% loss, only for experienced investors. Fifth option, emerging markets. India is investing $15 billion in fertilizers. Indian companies like Coromandel International grow 20% per year, but currency risk is high. Sixth option, debt securities from fertilizer companies. Nutrien issues bonds with interest of 5% per year. Low risk, guaranteed return. Ideal for conservative investors. General perspective. Fertilizer market will grow from $300 billion to $700 billion in 20 years. Companies that dominate this market will multiply value. Nutrien is worth $40 billion today. In 20 years, it may be worth $100 billion. Investing today in right companies can triple your money. But attention, timing is everything. Entering during crisis, when prices drop, maximizes return. Entering at peak, when everyone is optimistic, is recipe for losing money. Study cycles, wait for opportunity, and when it appears, act fast. This market offers opportunities for all levels. Small investors can buy ETFs. Large investors can buy entire companies. And entrepreneurs can create agricultural technology startups and sell to giants for billions. Money is there. Question is, will you take your share? Now let us bring it back to you. Why does this trillion-dollar market matter for your life? Because you are connected to it 3 times a day. Every time you eat, you are paying for fertilizers. Maybe you do not see it in price, but it is there. When fertilizer price rises 50%, food price rises 20%. Your household budget feels it. When government subsidizes fertilizers, your taxes pay. When fertilizer companies profit billions, shareholders get rich. And you can be one of them. You can ignore this market, or you can understand it and use knowledge in your favor. If you work in agriculture, understanding fertilizers means understanding costs, margins, opportunities. If you invest, understanding this market means identifying undervalued stocks. If you are a conscious consumer, understanding fertilizers means understanding why organic food costs more, why some countries have cheap food and others do not. If you think about career, this market offers millions of well-paid jobs in chemistry, logistics, sales, research. Imagine if you had understood this market 10 years ago. If you knew it was growing 7% per year. If you had invested $100,000 in Nutrien in 2014, today you would have $250,000, more than doubled. If you had invested in Yara, you would have $300,000, tripled. You are still on time. Growth is far from over. World population will increase 2 billion in next 25 years. Demand for food will grow 50%. Fertilizers will grow together. This is not fad. It is not bubble. It is structural necessity. And structural necessity generates consistent wealth for decades. Everything starts when you understand how wealth is created. Wealth does not appear from nothing. It comes from value chains. It comes from transforming resources into essential products. Fertilizers are essential. 8 billion people depend on them. And in a world where everyone depends on something, who provides that something has power? That power is economic. It is political. It is real. And you can participate in that power by understanding how it works, investing intelligently, making informed choices. You are more important in this story than you imagine. Your behavior as consumer affects demand. Your behavior as investor affects companies. Your voice as citizen affects policies. If billions of people like you understand this market, they can change how it works. They can demand sustainability. They can demand fair prices. They can demand transparency. Markets are not abstract. They are made of people decisions. And you are one of those people. So, what did you learn today? That fertilizers are not just chemical products. They are the invisible foundation of a trillion-dollar economy. That without fertilizers, half of humanity would have no food. That 50 million people work directly in this industry. That 500 million work indirectly in agriculture dependent on fertilizers. That $20 trillion in global salaries depend on this chain. That market is worth $320 billion today and will be worth $700 billion in 20 years. That companies like Nutrien, Yara, Mosaic dominate and profit billions. That China, India, United States, Russia, Brazil control global supply. That innovation is transforming this market with cutting-edge technology. That risks exist, but opportunities are greater. That you can invest and profit from this growth. And that you are connected to this market every day, 3 times a day, whenever you eat. Now I want to know, what impressed you most in this documentary? Was it the size of market in trillions? Was it discovering how many jobs depend on this? Was it knowing you can invest and profit? Leave your comment below. I want to read your opinion. I want to know which chapter caught your attention most. And if this documentary opened your eyes to something you never thought about, subscribe to channel. Because I will bring more documentaries like this. I will show other invisible markets that move trillions. I will reveal how economies really work. I will show where money is created and how you can participate. Economy does not need to be complicated. It needs to be clear. It needs to be accessible. It needs to be useful for your life. And that is what I do here. Next documentary will explore another giant market that is hidden in your daily life. I will not tell which yet, but it will impress you as much as this one. So activate notifications. Do not miss it. And share this video with someone who needs to understand how economy really works. The more people understand, the more informed collective decisions are. And informed decisions build better future for everyone. Thank you for watching until the end. Thank you for dedicating 20 minutes to learn something that will change how you see the world. Remember, every time you eat, you are participating in this trillion-dollar economy. And now you know how it works. Use this knowledge, make better choices, invest better, live better. Until next documentary.